Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Lona and I'm a planning and evolution engineer. And as a planning and evolution engineer, I touch on various aspects of IT. So if you're new, karibu sana, remember to check on my previous videos. This is a YouTube channel where we share IT information in general, which we feel that it's useful in our IT careers. So remember to kindly subscribe to this YouTube channel, like the videos and share as much as possible. So today I want us to look at what we call Jenkins build agent. What is a build agent and how can you add a separate node as a build agent in Jenkins? So Jenkins is a CI tool, it's a continuous integrations tool. So it's usually used for continuous building and testing of applications. So that means when you're building any application in Jenkins, then you using what you call a build agent. So the master sends like the build instructions to the build agent for it to build your application. So in your pipeline, you usually specify the build agent, and the master Jenkins server will know where to send the build instructions to. And depending also on what you're building, maybe the parameters or maybe the configurations that you'd want to use when you're building your applications, you can actually have those ones in your build agent. So when you're running like big applications or maybe in a production environment, it's usually advisable to have like separate build agents, because you can actually use the same Jenkins server as a master and a build agent at the same time, but it's not sustainable when you have like huge projects, or maybe you want to run a distributed form of architecture. So with that, then you need to have like separate servers to use as build agents. So you also need to know how to add that build agent to the master Jenkins server. So I'm going to show you that. So first of all, let me show you how to specify a build agent when you have a pipeline that you're using to build your applications. So in any pipeline where you're specifying the agent, you can actually specify in three ways. You can say any, or you can say none, or you can give a specific node that would be used as a build agent. So let me show you an example of a pipeline that I have. It's just a small pipeline that you can use as an example. So as you can see here, this small pipeline I have, my agent is any. So at this point I haven't like specified a specific build agent. So at this point it actually uses any fast available build environment. So that is what this one means. But you can also say, let me try to edit this file so that I can write. You can also say agent is none. So when you say none, it means you're not specifying like a global setting for a build agent, because when you put it here, it's a global setting for the rest of the pipeline. So if you want to like specify an agent for every stage of your pipeline, then you state here none, and then you come to each stage and specify a build agent that you want to use for any stage. If you want to specify a given agent, maybe you have a separate build agent, you can actually use a label. So you say agent label, the label that you've used, maybe you've called it Linux. For example, you're using a build agent that has that you've installed a specific Linux distribution. So maybe you've just named it Linux and you want to use it as a label, so you can specify it like this. So for you to be able to add that separate build agent to your master Jenkins, you follow a few steps. So first of all, if it's a Linux build agent, then the communication between the master and the build agents will be through SSH. So you need to have SSH server running. If you don't have, then you need to install OpenSSH, and also you need to generate SSH key for authentication, and also you need to like create a specific user that you'll be using for that authentication. So let me show you a few steps which I documented for that matter. So yeah, I have these few steps over here. Of course, the definition of what a build agent is a separate server that receives instructions in the form of build job dispatches from the master, and they can run various operating systems depending of course what you're building. And these are the different ways of declaring an agent. And then once the master is able to communicate to the build agent, it sends what we call a remoting it sends a file. It's called a remoting.js, it's a Java file that has the compacted version of Jenkins, but only the part that specifies build instructions, so that the agent is able to perform the build instructions which are being sent to from the master. So that means you need to install a form of Java for it to be able to run this Java file over here. Yeah, so these are the install instructions. So after making sure that you have updated your packages, you can actually install that Java application. If you don't have SSH running, you need to install, and then you create a specific directory you'll be working from, and then create a specific user to own that directory. And from that directory, you generate your SSH key for authentication from the master to the build agent. So these are the instructions that you follow, as you can see here. Next, generation of key, copying it to authorized keys, and then make sure that that user owns the directory. Yeah, so when that is done, then you come to your master server to add the node. So you go back to your Jenkins master server, and then you first need to enable a specific plugin. Let me show you. It's called SSH agent plugin. So you go to manage Jenkins, manage plugins, and then under available you search for SSH agent plugin, but because I've already installed, it's available under installed for me because I've installed already. But let me show you the name. So you just say SSH. It should be somewhere. This is the one, SSH agent plugin. So you make sure that you enable that plugin, and then to add the node, go back to manage Jenkins, and then down here you have this link here, manage nodes and cloud. So you click on it, and then you come and say new node. You give it a name. You can call it maybe build agent 1 or any name, and then you make it permanent agent, and then you say create. So you need to provide more information, so you give a description. I want to use the name for the description as well. And then you specify the number of executors you want to be running in that particular node. You can say 2 because my server is not that big. And then the root directory, remember the directory that we created, it's /var lib Jenkins. Yeah. And then the label, this is not the label that you'll be using when you will be writing your pipeline. So you remember the label, this is where you configure it from. So because I called mine Linux, so let me use the same label over here. Then use this node as much as possible. You can decide to have this as a default. You choose other options here. And then the launch method, of course, you're using SSH, so we launch agent via SSH. And then the host, the IP address of your build agent. So mine is 192.168.100.71. And then the credentials, you need to add credentials. So remember we said that you generate the SSH key, so you need to add the SSH key over here for communication between your master and your build agent. So comes here and say add Jenkins, and then remember if the kind is a username plus SSH key. So from the drop down here you choose username, SSH username with private key, and then you give it an ID, like something to identify it with. You can say agent, to call it anything you feel like. I'm also using the same for my description. And then the username, remember we created a user called Jenkins that owns that directory, so that's the one that you're using over here, Jenkins. And then now you need to enter your private key. So you check on enter directly, and then click on add, and then copy it over here. If you had a passphrase when you're generating your SSH key, then you also specify it over here. Then once you have all this, you click add. So for me, I've already added, so I don't want to do it the second time. So once you add, it should appear here when you are drop down. So mine was called agent, it's here. So I'm selecting it. And then host key verification, you can verify using non-hosts file, but I want to use manually trusted key verification strategy. Yeah. And then some of the options here, you can actually leave them as default, or you can check on them and see which one's favoring your configurations. Once you have all this, what's really important over here is the name. This root directory is a must. The label, of course, because this is what you'll be using when you'll be writing your pipeline. And then how to launch it. And then, of course, the host is a must and the credentials are a must. And then some of these other ones, you can actually see which one favors your configuration. So once you do that, you save. And the moment you save, you'll see that the master will actually try to reach your agent node. So you can see from down here it's saying launching. So let's see if it's going to be able to connect to it. So you can actually click to see what's going on. So you can see the log to just check what is going on. Yeah, so it's saying agent successfully connected and online. There are a number of warnings which you can check and see what you can change about it. But as you can see, our agent is successfully connected to and it's online. So when you go back to notes, you should be able to see your agent appearing over here. Yeah, so that's how to add it. So the next time you're building your applications from Jenkins and you want to use this specific node which you've added, then on your pipeline, you make sure that you specify that agent using the label that you've used when you're adding it there. So if you have a Jenkins file, then you come and say agent like this label. So you use label at this stage because that's how to identify it. And then in quotes, you give the name of the label which you used. And then you run your build and see if it's going to use your separate build agent to build your application. So yeah, so that's it. I just wanted us to see how you configure like a separate build agent, and this is really useful when you're running production application, because you can't use the same master to become a build agent at the same time because of resources wise, and also you want to protect your master so that you don't find yourself doing a lot of configurations that mess up your master node. So it's better to have like separate build agents, and especially if you want to have like a distributed architecture for building different applications, then that's how to add a separate build agent to your Jenkins server. So I hope this has been informative enough. If you have any questions, kindly put them in the comment sections. If you have any additions or any suggestions, kindly also let me know in the comment section. So until next time, remember to subscribe and remember to like all the videos. See you in the next one. Bye.